my trade just happened to go from working on cars to teaching kids to making TV shows. So I just had that, I had that burned into my mind at a very young age that once you get the job, you're not done learning. It's your job now to learn more about that job. To me, I do enjoy going four-wheeler and I do enjoy going on these off-road adventures, but I'm a shop rat at heart. Like, to me, my favorite place to be is in the shop working, just building something, right?
Still quoting your jobs in Excel at 10 p.m. while your competitors respond first? Quotara gives fabricators, welding shops, and job shops a better way. Just describe the job and AI builds a fully itemized quote using your shop's rates in minutes. Customers can approve with one click, and Quotara automatically creates the work order, schedules the job, and syncs with QuickBooks. Stop quoting after hours. Start your free 14-day trial at getquotara.com.
Welcome to the Fabricator Podcast. I'm Dan Davis. These are my friends, Rob Coleman.
Hello.
And Garrett Slager.
Hi.
We're
still hot. It's still hot.
We checked the thermometers and it's 100 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it might be.
Which I think is a 98 Fahrenheit. Anyway.
String vests tomorrow for the show.
Yes. Ice cold running through your veins. This episode, we're speaking with Ian Johnson of Big Tire Garage, as well as Digital Lug content media agency. I think I just threw together a bunch of nouns there.
I mean, there's a lot on his resume.
There really is. I discovered quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
I think one of the more fascinating things is he's done a lot for his few short years here on Earth.
Yeah. I've never heard a fabricator talk so much about digital marketing.
Yeah.
Strategies.
I think that's one of the things I was kind of impressed with. If somebody didn't initially kind of take a college route for a career, I mean, he's a pretty sharp individual and kind of sees things and asks questions that I'm not so sure other people might be able to follow up with. So, yeah, it was a good conversation.
Great conversation. Real entrepreneur. I mean, he just, he talks about he wouldn't have done this if certain things hadn't happened, but I don't know. He's always determined to do what he wanted, and he's gotten to a lot of places that way. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, think you'll enjoy this episode. Anything else you want to add before we jump into it?
No.
Okay. Other than it's hot, Gareth?
Yeah, it's a long episode, so let's get to it.
All right, then. Stay tuned for more exciting conversation with Ian Johnson.
North America's largest metal forming, fabricating, welding, and finishing event is back, bringing together the latest innovations, hands-on demos, and the people driving the industry forward. If you're looking to solve a challenge, discover new equipment, or just see what's next, FABTECH is where you need to be. It's all coming to Las Vegas, October 21st to the 23rd. Register today at fabtechexpo.com.
Welcome back to the Fabricator Podcast. Thanks for joining us today, Ian. I don't know if you know this, but you're a big get. I've seen you at FABTECH multiple years, and I'm sure we've interacted with some of the booths and that, but I can't believe we haven't had you on to this point.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for joining us.
Glad to be here.
We're at FABTECH Canada. You were the keynote address on opening day.
Yep.
And it was really interesting to hear your personal story and then kind of get into a conversation about branding, which it was really, I think, is both important from an individual and organizational standpoint. But before it, I don't know if people know you're from Canada? Because I don't think
Most
I
people
really knew.
Yeah, anyone who knows me long enough knows I am. But I'm born and raised Smiths Falls, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
I didn't move to the States till 2004. So I guess technically I spent half my life in Canada and now half my life in the States.
Yeah.
But started here in Canada, was a mechanic. Hated winter, wanted to be, my parents were teachers.
Yeah.
They had summers off. So I became a high school shop teacher, essentially. Went back to school, got my teaching diploma, taught high school auto shop, and then just luck of the draw, ended up getting a gig on TV doing Monster Garage.
Right.
And then that led to my exposure to television and introduction to people in that space. And then I just stayed friends with them, and that led to trying out for a new show that was being launched for, at that point, it was the Nashville Network.
Yeah.
and now then it became Spike TV, and then it became Paramount Plus.
That's how you end up in Mount Pleasant, Tennessee.
Well, that's where I ended up in. I ended up in Franklin.
Okay.
And just outside of Nashville, because that's where the television production company was.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I moved there to do that job, thinking that it was only going to be like a couple years.
Right.
You know, and then we've been down there for 22 years now. So I started working in television, and then in 18, I left that production company to start my own production company that focused on television and social media. And at the time, not very many people were doing that, especially not in the automotive space.
Right.
And so left there and started Digital Lug in 2018, and that's what we've been doing ever since.
Yeah. So I mean, Digital Lug's a digital content agency.
Yep.
Doing TV shows. Did education before that. Mechanic. And I find your resume really diverse, obviously.
It's silly. My joke was I always got a new career every 7 years.
What was the window between training to be a mechanic and being a mechanic and then deciding to go to education?
So I'm from Canada, so it's an apprenticeship program up here, so it's different, right?
Okay.
So I signed my apprenticeship papers when I was 16, and when I was doing my apprenticeship, it was hour-based.
Yeah.
So it was 9,000 hours of on-the-job training. Now it's skills-based, so it's a little bit differently.
Okay.
But when I did it, it was 9,000 hours. You got a certain amount of hours credited to you if you took high school auto shop and some other things. So I had to do 6,500 hours on the job and three cycles of school. I did 4 because I was part of the General Motors ASEP program.
Okay.
But I wrote my mechanic's license when I was 20.
No kidding.
So started when I was technically started when I was like 17 years old.
Yeah.
Because I was still in school. I was doing like a dual enrollment. I was in co-ops. I was school in the morning, working at the dealership in the afternoon. And then the minute I graduated high school, I was working at another dealership, working there, and that's how I accrued my hours. Went through, went to Algonquin College in Ottawa, did all my apprenticeship training there, and then wrote my license at 20.
Yeah. So were you a gearhead as a younger?
Yeah, but I don't know why. It makes no sense. Nobody in my family is a blue-collar person at all.
No kidding.
No,
Wow.
my grandfather worked on the railroad, but I didn't have an uncle who liked cars. All I know is that when I was 14 years old, I was walking through the pool hall where all the bad kids hung out there. And so I was walking to the pool hall, and they had a magazine rack. And I remember picking up a copy of, I think it was Hot VWs and Dune Buggies, and VW Trends were the 2 big VW magazines.
Yeah.
And I remember picking up that magazine and thinking, oh, that's the coolest car in the world. And then I bought my first Volkswagen when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And that started it all from there.
That's funny.
But I don't know, like I said, I don't know why. My father didn't work on cars. Nobody in my immediate circle worked on cars.
So your parents were teachers, right?
My parents were both principals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so no one
You're
in my
hanging out in pool halls, young man?
yeah, it was terrible. My poor parents, it was terrible for them. Yeah, it was the worst case scenario because both my dad was a principal, my mom was a teacher, and I was like not going to university. I was like from age 15 on, I was like, no, I'm not going to university. It's not going to happen. I want out of high school as soon as I can. I hate it here. I don't want to be in a classroom. So after leaving that world of being a mechanic and becoming a teacher, I even respect more how difficult it was for them because now I spent time in staff rooms with teachers whose kids were in the school, and I know that my poor parents were probably in those staff rooms, and those teachers are probably just like, what is wrong with your kid? Why won't he go to university like he's supposed to? What have you done to him? So, but yeah, no, it was bad.
That's funny.
You got back into teaching. You got into teaching. What made you want to move into
summers
just
off?
The summers off.
100% summers off. Now, I say that as a joke. People think I'm joking, but it's absolutely not a joke. It's like also in Canada, teaching is a very good job. It's not like the States, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in Canada, you become a teacher. Like if you're in, it's solid. It's 6-figure salary. It's retire at 55. It's summers off, Christmas off, March break. I mean, you're not going to find a better job.
Yeah.
It's very competitive to get in because of that. And so when I asked my parents about becoming a teacher, I just lucked out. There was going to be a shortage of shop teachers, right?
Yeah.
It was just
But is that still the case?
well, so it cycles, right? Especially here, right? So there'll probably be another shortage of shop teachers in the next 5 years because that's when I should be retiring if I was still teaching.
Right.
So what happened was Canada is very trade centric, which is good.
Yeah.
They're very pro trade, which
Right.
I believe that's very important, right? So like the high school that I taught at and the high school that I went to, when I went to the high school, we had a framing shop, cabinet shop, electricity shop, concrete shop, auto body shop, welding shop,
Wow.
2 machine shops, and 2 auto shops.
I wouldn't say that's very common even in Canada. I'm from Toronto, and it's like that's.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really depends where you are.
That's true.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so now when I went back, I ended up teaching at a few high schools, but I ended up teaching at the high school that I actually graduated from. When I went back, there were fewer shops, but there was still a large number of shops. And the reason that I went and got my welding certificate to teach is because the welding teacher was going to retire. And so they were going to close the welding shop, and I didn't want the welding shop to close. So I went back and got certified to teach. At that point, they changed the name to make it sound more fancy. I don't know why, but it was manufacturing technology. But
Right,
mine wasn't
right.
manufacturing technology. It was welding shop. That's what I
Yeah.
taught.
So how long did you do the teaching gig
About
before you applied?
same thing, 7 years.
Okay.
So you applied, then that's the Monster Garage thing came around?
Yeah,
and-
the Monster Garage thing, I didn't know it was going to be a whole new career.
yeah.
And then when I took the job to do Extreme 4x4, I didn't know that was going to be a whole new career because I thought it'd be 2 years.
Yeah.
And like I said before, teaching in Canada, very good profession. They gave me a 2-year sabbatical. They said you can take 2 years off, come back, get your job back whenever you want. So I was like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? My
Yeah.
son at the time was 3. My wife wanted to take time off anyway before he went to school. So it's like best of both worlds, right? We can go to Tennessee, have an adventure for a couple years, then we'll come back to Canada, get back in the groove of teaching, edge to that 56-year-old retirement, and then move from there. I didn't expect to stay in Tennessee for 23 years now. So, but yeah, it just worked out.
When did you recognize that you had your own brand? You know, I mean, you were talking about that brand.
2015, 16.
Oh,
So
it was
20,
kind of close to that.
yeah,
that time.
2015, 16, we were really noticing a shift in like the shows, the TV shows. Like when we launched Extreme 4x4 in 2005, we would get 5 million viewers, no problem, every weekend, right? Have 5 million people.
Wow.
And we noticed just a direct shift of we were losing viewers. They were still good, but the eyeballs were elsewhere. Saw a lot of eyeballs on forums, Facebook wasn't doing video yet. Instagram was still just a photo sharing service. So there really wasn't anywhere else aside from YouTube for video to land. YouTube hadn't gone super serious video yet. What a lot of people don't realize is when YouTube first launched, it was all trash video.
Right.
Right.
So when Google bought YouTube, one of the first things they did is they actually went around to production companies. They came to our production company in Tennessee and said, listen, we need some television style content for YouTube, so we'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So they actually, that's how Roadkill became a thing, the YouTube series Roadkill, which launched Motor Trend Studios, because YouTube came to us, but we were so heavily ingrained in traditional television, our executive producer was like, no, can't do it. We're too busy. We don't have enough time, right? So they went to Peterson's magazine, which was the magazine,
Right.
and they said, could you guys do video? And they said, sure. I mean, if you pay us enough, we can.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what started Roadkill, Dirt Every Day. They basically started with YouTube funding because YouTube wanted quality content. They earmarked some specific silos. They were like,
Yeah.
all right, we want some automotive stuff. They did some cooking stuff. They did
Yeah.
some adventure stuff. And then all of a sudden, if you're on YouTube and you see videos of a higher quality, then you're going to be like, oh, I should make a higher quality video to put on YouTube. And that's what
Right.
that's what raised YouTube's quality up across the board. So around 15, 16, we were noticing, like, at least I was noticing, a lot more push into social media content, specifically from the companies we worked with. So in 2018, when we left and launched Digital Lug, that was the majority of our business the first year was all like working for companies like ESOB Welding and Cutting, like Summit Racing, MagnaFlow, a bunch of big brands in the automotive space and the welding space, to just like, hey, listen, we'll build the studios, we'll build the shop, we'll have all the equipment, we'll make the content, you guys just use it. And that's how that started.
So when you're seeing this develop, the thing you said in the keynote that really caught my eyes, not only are you talking about developing your own brand, but also owning the effort, right? And that way you're in control of it.
Yeah.
Was that part of it as well?
100%. Yeah. I mean, the reality was I was talking with companies who were like, they wanted to work like if you're on TV, you're obviously the face of the show, right?
Right.
People want to work with you,
Yeah.
but if you don't have anything to offer them, there's no point of them working with you, right?
Right.
So I couldn't control what was going on the show. That was the production company and the network. But I could control what I put on my own social media.
Yeah.
And in the early years, a lot of production companies and networks, they saw that.
Right.
And so they would so when you were signing your contract for the year to make a TV show, all of a sudden these clauses started to come in. They'd be like, all social media posts must be approved by network prior to posting. And I'd be like, no, we're redlining that. We're not doing that. So when that stuff starts to come in, you ask yourself, why?
Right,
Why do they want? Obviously, so they can say, no, you can't post that ESAB welding because Lincoln's sponsored the show. Or
Right.
the minute they have control over that, you've given it up, right?
Yeah.
So, and especially nowadays, especially in the trade space, I mean, there's so much benefit for someone developing their personal brand. Just as I said in the keynote this morning, just for the basic fact that you could possibly get a brand partnership where at the very least you get a free welder.
Right.
You know, I know a lot of content creators right now that are literally sliding brand new ESAB ruffians into the bed of their welding trucks and they're pushing Lincolns out. And the reason why is because, you know, the machine is there. They might think it's a better machine, but more importantly, it was also a free machine, right?
Yeah.
Like, they know the people who play the game right know how to play the game right.
And they're building contacts. At least they're building recognition.
Yes.
And to me, that goes back to the point you were making. You know, social media allows people to build, whether it's, you know, their company brand or their individual brand. And, you know, but I think the thing that jumps out at me is how much discipline has to be involved with that. And I think that's the other thing that people probably don't understand about digital creators. Even the silly ones have to be regimented in terms of like getting the silly content up there on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, you have to. I tell people all the time when people ask me, they're like, I want to start a YouTube channel, or what do I do? And I say, well, like, what's the goal? That's
Right.
the first question, right? Like, do you want to be the next Mr. Beast? Because that's a very different goal than
Right.
I want to show people how to fix HVAC, you know, equipment.
Right.
You know, the guy fixing HVAC is not going to get the views that Mr. Beast does, you know?
Right.
But that's the first question is, what is it that you want it to be?
Right.
And then if you go at it with a planned attack or a planned proposal or content creation plan, then it doesn't matter. The one thing that I didn't hit on this morning that I should have is I see a lot of, specifically companies, get hung up on vanity metrics.
Yeah.
And that's just a term for like, oh, I got 1 million followers, right?
Yeah.
Because I can buy you 1 million followers tomorrow. They're all garbage followers. They're not
Yeah.
going to buy any of your product, and they're not going to support your brand. But if you're looking for that, and I have seen, specifically I've seen people working for larger companies who are maybe in that game of like, oh, I'm running marketing for company XYZ, and the only KPI that my boss gives me is more followers,
Right.
which is the terrible KPI.
Right.
And so that puts that person in basically in a corner where their only way out is to get more followers. It doesn't matter that the quality, they just want more. And so they end up just saying, all right, go on YouTube, buy my 1,000, or go to India and get 1,000 clicks. Like, it's
Right.
all out there. You can do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous game to play because it just devalues your content, devalues your brand 100%.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest mistake I see a lot of, especially corporations making, is they get
Right.
stuck on that vanity metric number. I'd rather have 10,000 actual customers
Right.
looking at content I'm creating if I'm a company than 100,000 and none of them, or maybe 1% of them are customers. Because when you post something, that's the other thing a lot of people don't understand. You post something, it doesn't go to all 10. People think that, oh, I put it on Instagram, all 10,000 of the people who have
Right.
subscribed or follow me see this. They don't. It's a percentage, and then if there's a lot of interaction, then it goes to the next tier and
Right.
the next tier and the next tier. So if you've bought a bunch of garbage followers and it goes out, the first tier is just nothing but not quality followers with no interaction, that post just died.
Right.
It just withers and dies.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
Yeah. Was there any stage of your development where you sort of you're building a brand, you're out there, but you're like you have to sit down and think, okay, this is where I want to be. We got to sort of streamline what we're thinking or how we're approaching it.
Yeah, I more look at it as like, for me, I have a perfect example. That's my YouTube channel. If I was to actually follow the rules of YouTube, if you're building your brand on YouTube, is every X number of months you pull all your data out, pull your stats out. What's your most watched video? What's your most interactive video? And then that should be the only video you make, right? You should go in and say, oh, this one got 1 million views. So obviously that's what people on my channel want to see, or that's what my audience interacts with. So that's what I should do. And if I do that, all I should do is fix trailers. Right. That's my number one video. I fixed my trailer and I got 1 million views, right? I don't want to fix trailers. I just want to do what I want to do.
But the public wants you to fix trailers.
Well, but that's the trap, right? That's the question, right? You need to ask yourself, what is it you want do you want that channel? Yeah. So that portion of your social media, because each one's a silo. That's the reality of it. Right. You have to look at it that way. So I look at YouTube as more, I'm just going to do with it what I want.
Right.
Now, I'm not tied to, that's not my living, so I get to do that. I can understand how some content creators are very focused on, I'm going to make YouTube that's where I'm going to make money, right? Mm-hmm. And there's ways to make money on YouTube. Way A is Google Analytics, paycheck comes out, you get a certain amount of money every month.
Sure.
B is, if you're relevant and you have a good audience size, you can sell sponsorships. So to me, I don't get hung up on what the Google ad revenue is, and because I don't, then I don't have to just fix trailers.
Right.
But if I was focused solely on Google ad revenue, then yeah, it should just be a constant stream of trailers through my shop. So that's like I said before, you have to decide what do you want to do. Right. If this is what you want to do, then you need to say, okay, I want a barbecue channel. I just want to make cool barbecue. Then you have to ignore followers, ignore views, just do what you want to do, and hopefully you'll have an audience. If it's 10,000 people, that's great. If it's 100,000 people, it's even better. But if you're doing what you want to do, you really shouldn't be focused on how many people are focused in on it, type of thing.
Right.
What did you learn from your days of working with that TV production company, and how has that carried over to your digital content creation?
So probably, well, number one, I learned pretty much everything there is about video creation. The nice thing about when I started at RTM Productions, that was the name of the company, the founder was Joe St. Lawrence. Joe St. Lawrence essentially was one of the originators in automotive how-to. Mm-hmm. And he was the type of guy that you could walk into his office and you could sit down and you could say, hey, Joe, how do you make money? And he wasn't those guys who'd be like, don't worry about that, make your TV. He'd be like, let me show you.
Yeah.
He'd just open up the book and he'd talk about it, right? And he was very open about it. But probably the number one thing that I learned that I tell people that everyone seems to have forgotten, especially in the world of social media, is the really good content still has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Right.
So even in a 3-minute Instagram video, you should still, or Instagram reel, you should still shoot for a beginning and a middle and an end. It's harder to do in 3 minutes than you'd think.
Right.
But that's the key, because that's what people, just human nature, people want to watch. Problem, work, solution. That's what it boils down to. I mean, and it's not rocket science. I mean, when we were pitching shows to Discovery or anybody, they'll always say, their line was, paint comes off, paint goes on in one episode. That was always like, the car has to come in, be fixed, and out the door at the end. And that was there. Now, doing how-to is different, thank God.
Yeah.
But that's why overhauling looks like overhauling. And when they used to do all those home improvement shows, there's like, we're focusing on the living room today.
Right.
Because then it's empty, fixed, done. It's still the end. So that's probably the most, there still has to be a story at the end of the day.
Yeah. Do you find that that has resonated in the work you've done for not only like your channels but also your customers?
Oh,
they buy into that?
Yeah, 100%. Some more than others. I mean, we've had really good luck creating content for some really good companies and some big names that we've done some great work for. And it's once you get them involved, and as soon as they can get rid of the old marketing mindset, which I hate to say it, but it is. The old marketing mindset is, if I spend $100, I want to make 1,000.
Yeah. Right.
Which is fine. But that's not building a brand. That's advertising.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it is. You buy an ad, you sell an ad. Like, you want to do that? Do buy 3 get 1 free. You don't need me.
Right.
Just go put that on Facebook and call it a day. You know. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is that we've gotten to a point where getting people to the point where they understand what's marketing versus advertising. That's kind of the hardest hill to climb because a lot of people confuse the two, and there are two very different things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're trying to build a brand, it's not just about saying this is my product. It's getting people to understand who you are and what that means.
Yeah, and then you have to just also know what's the brand going to be. What are you trying to build? Like, are you trying to form? If you're trying to be the next energy drink, or do you just want people because there's also another form of marketing, and we have this conversation all the time. Education is still good marketing.
Yeah.
Probably the majority of the video content that we make for companies, we start right in the basement. I'll just say, where's your, if it's a product, like how do people learn how to install it?
Yeah.
Well, it comes with instructions. All right. What's the number one question people call you once they get your product and it doesn't fit? Because it never fits, right? Well, it's this. All right. So there's video 1 is that. That's your first video. Let's go through go to your website. What's your FAQs on your website? What's the take those 10 that you're obviously put them on. People have been asking them for a reason. So now let's make videos about all those. Let's take all those, turn them into a video, and then when they go online and they search, how do I get the bubbles out of my power steering system? Right. Then you have a video to watch. It's not just your bunch of text on a website. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. Like, is it? Are we looking to educate, or are we looking to create like the cool new thing, which is two very different paths?
Do you do content strictly for your Big Tire Garage brand?
Yeah, we do. I'll do content. We do content or traditional television shows for Discovery, Discovery Turbo, which used to be Motor Trend, but in Canada was always Turbo. So Discovery Turbo, we still make multiple shows for them. We made some shows for Racer Network. We made shows for Amazon Prime that include me on it and other people. Then we also do all the YouTube stuff, and then all the social media stuff in there. And then in that social media world, we're doing social media or creating content for our clients' social media pages.
How many people you got working with you?
We have it's all freelance, but we got a good crew, about 10 people total that work in and out. Yeah, because we've got, I tease them, it's a terrible thing to say, but I call them, my crews, I got them divided up into like inside cats, outside cats.
Yeah.
But like some of them, because my inside guys are great at inside stuff. Like I've got guys that are like, oh, I love just being in this studio shooting this power steering kit for 8 hours. This is awesome. Wow. And then other my guys would be like, this is the worst day of my life. But if I told them, I was like, hey, we're going to do a 4-day adventure trip through Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico. You're going to be sleeping in a tent. And we're going to film 14 hours a day, they'd be like, oh, sign me up. But my studio guys would hate that. They'd be like, where's lunch? And I'd be like, it's that Uncrustable that's in the bottom of your camera bag. That's what lunch is today.
Do you find time to do stuff you used to do when you're working on some of those other shows, albeit it was for TV or
there's always
stuff you might have done.
There's
like
always
on your
time
own.
to play trucks. Yeah. But it's a running joke though, because I have friends who I grew up with, and a couple of them are teachers, and I'm on track. I would have retired in 2 years. Is when I would retire. And so one of them called me not too long ago, and he's like, when are you going to retire? And I said, well, what's retirement look like to you?
Right.
And he goes, man, I don't know. I just have a shop behind the house, a couple projects in it, just work on them whenever I want. Yeah. And I was like, damn, dude, I've been retired for 22 years. Listen, one day I'm going to have to go work at Home Depot and just walk around with a vest on and be like, what are you building today? So no, there's always the beauty of our business is it's all air, essentially. That's what I tell people. I'm selling air. I'm buying it. We're not, so I don't have to buy a bunch of steel to manufacture something. I don't have to get a bunch of machines. I have machines, but I'm not reliant on them for my end product. My end product is literally a video or photos or some type of content, which is literally just a digital file, right? So we're not in a situation where I have to worry about did the steel order show up? Is it the right spec? Is it this? I have to worry about that for me playing with my trucks that make the videos. but not, I don't have the same stresses as like a fab shop would have.
Right.
And plus, we also, because we're basically making air and making content, we just make our own schedules and own hours. So I just, we'll go hard for 2 weeks, fulfill all our contracts, and be like, all right, we're done. We'll see you guys in a month. And then the crews all go home and everyone leaves, and then we're done and then I'll just go to the shop and work on a car, work on something myself for a while.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
That's too funny. So you grew up in Smiths Falls.
Yep. Home of Hershey chocolate.
That's what we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
And I literally asked Rob, being the Canadian expert, since we're in Canada, how many mountains are in Smiths Falls?
No mountains in Smiths Falls.
What's even worse is the falls isn't even really a falls anymore. No.
Not really, no.
They dammed it up to make, I think it was a power plant years ago, but there's no falls in Smiths Falls.
All right.
Yep.
So, how do you, at what point are you building these trucks? You know what I mean? Obviously, I can see where an interest comes, right?
Yeah.
Seeing it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Where did you first get that idea? Hey, I want to build one of those.
So probably when I was teaching high school, we started building little off-road dune buggies with the kids because it was fun, right?
Yeah.
And so we started doing, I was buying some Suzuki Samurais because they were cheap.
Yeah.
And then I got some tubing, and then when I reopened the welding shop, I wanted to do something different. So at that time, all the chopper shows were huge.
Right.
Remember American Chopper and all kinds
Yeah.
of. So we did mini choppers in that class. So I got an English wheel and some metalworking stuff, and taught the kids how to do metalworking and making a gas tank and these little mini choppers and stuff. And that led to tube work, and then that led to, so that was my junior fabrication technology class for grade 11.
No kidding.
And then I needed a different project for grade 12s, and at the time there was this forum that was just starting to blow up called Pirate 4x4, which is a big off-road forum.
Yeah.
And there was guys on there posting, it just started making their own tube buggies, and I'm like, wow, these look kind of cool. Let's start building these.
Yeah.
And then when I started the show, I was kind of blessed because the off-road industry, it was sort of big in 2004, 2005, but in 7 and 8, it exploded.
Yeah.
It became massive. And part of that was the Jeep JK. When Jeep came out with the 4-door Jeep, that changed everything.
Okay.
When you could put your family in the back of a Jeep, take your wife and your kids out, that was the end of it. And then it just blew up. And then King of the Hammers was new. That was a race in Southern California. That started to take off. That completely transformed recreational four-wheeling. And then COVID hit. We had another shot in the arm with camping and adventure because everybody wanted to get outside.
Of course.
So we've had a few booms in the off-road space, which has been great.
That's a really nice summation because having just been, obviously we cover a lot of different industries, and talking with people about this off-roading thing, and then you start getting into geographic differences between what people need, maybe out west compared to
there's the big West Coast East Coast debate.
Yeah. And I'm getting into this, and I'm like, all right, I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever make my own truck, but I love hearing about this, what you're describing. These different opinions and different requirements. And do you see the industry still kind of
The industry is going bigger and bigger every year. I mean, it's not just racing drives a lot of it, which is true.
Right.
At least it drives a lot of the innovation, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is, and even the hot rod industry is also huge too. But it's actually bigger. But what's really also changed it is the fact that, in the 80s, the hot rod industry was just your uncle or your dad building a hot rod in his garage.
Right.
There wasn't really shops building, Chip Foose. If Chip Foose was born 20 years earlier, Chip Foose would not be Chip Foose because people weren't paying millions of dollars to have a car built, right? So that industry has grown in that direction where now you have all these shops with people with, they've got some passive income. They want to spend that, maybe they had that car. They want that car they had in high school.
Right.
They got the income. They want a cool car and they're paying for it. Well, that's the next lift we're seeing in off-road right now.
Yeah.
We're seeing people who are like, okay, I've always wanted a cool Jeep. Like you said, I don't think I'm ever going to build it.
Right.
But hey, I can pay this guy to.
Right.
And then add on top of that the side-by-side industry.
That's what I was going to ask.
Which is even the side.
That is crazy big.
Oh, it's huge because the barrier to entry is
right.
$500, right?
$500
you're in the dirt tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing else that does that, right? Except for maybe Sea-Doos.
Right.
You know, like you can't buy a wake boat on
Yeah.
$500 down, wakeboard boat, but you can buy a Sea-Doo. You know, you can at least be on the water for
Right.
$500, right? And it's the same with side-by-sides. So that's a whole other demographic. That's a very young demographic in the side-by-side world, just because that barrier to entry is literally one monthly payment and you're out the door.
Right. You do content for that kind of
We do
segment?
some content stuff. I'm not a huge side-by-side fan.
Right.
But that's just me.
Yeah.
But we'll do content in that space. Not the problem. The issue with that space is it's so OEM driven that it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It does, like, the side-by-side market is big, yes. The
Right.
OEM side. The OEM side of Jeeps is big because it's Stellantis and Chrysler
Right.
and Jeep. But the aftermarket is just as big.
Right.
Whereas the aftermarket for side-by-sides is still a lot of small shops.
So exactly, I've run across a couple where it's just job shops that have this as like a side business.
Yeah.
And then that's when you start to learn about it's the same mindset that comes from like snowmobile owners, and they're like the idea that they replace these things on a regular basis or like trick them out to the point where someone not a part of that community would find it hard to believe.
Oh, it's stupid. No, anyway, I always question, you know, I'll tell people all the time, I'll meet people who aren't interested in cars, I'm like, what do you do with all your spare time? Like, what do you do? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
What do you spend all your money on? You must have an amazing house. Because, I mean, it's like, because all my money goes to, like, parts, and all my time goes to cutting, grinding, and welding stuff together, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's just, but that's the same. It's the same, but it's the same as my father was huge into model trains.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Like,
Okay.
he was a train guy,
Yeah.
right? So that he would spend hours in the basement of our house,
Right.
like with tiny little trains, like gluing the horn on the right, because the horn didn't come on that side, it was supposed to be on this side, and then he had all of Canada coast to coast in the basement of
That's pretty cool.
It's not a train set, it's a layout.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I
there's
love it.
there's everything, right? Like I got friends that are competitive barbecue people. That's their thing, right?
hilarious.
You talk to them, it's like, I'm like, you spend how much money on brisket every week to just that's what you do? And he's like, oh yeah, got to buy at least 2 briskets a week to perfect the smoker. You know, it's,
Wow.
everyone's got a thing.
My wife actually caught me scrolling on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm looking at Weber charcoal grills. Like, she goes, one guy that tricked him out where he bought like blue handles and he bought mag wheels for the wheels, and she looked like, you're pathetic. And I'm like, I know, just leave me alone.
I made the mistake of buying myself a really nice pizza oven last
Yeah.
year, and now I'm a
Oh.
pizza oven addict. Now I've got like, I make steak in my pizza oven. I make
Yeah.
pizza. I make nachos. I make chicken wings.
I've been down that path.
Yeah.
I bought a rice cooker at a garage sale.
Yeah, it's there's that meme. It's like, if you're tired of cooking, buy your husband a Blackstone. You'll never cook again.
It'll take you a while to get
They're out.
used to it.
Everything's I get cooked out because I'll go 4-wheel. We'll go on overland trips with guys who have like their camping Blackstone.
Yeah.
Like I got one at the house, but then I got this one, and I'm here, and they're in the morning they're making like eggs and hash browns, and it's like being at a hibachi.
I have no desire to be outside, but I go like to these shops and like see kind of like you described portable camping stuff. I'm like, I should start camping just so I could use it.
I had a professor in university when I was getting my teaching degree. He was from England, and we were planning. There was a few of us in the class, and at the time I was big into whitewater kayaking and rock climbing, and so there was a couple of us. We were going out camping that weekend, and we were going to run a couple rivers, and the professor comes in and he was like, "So explain what you're doing." And with time, and he goes, and he literally looks at me and he goes, "So you're going to go in the woods and live in a tent?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "What is with you Canadians and do you want to be homeless?" He's like, and he would say, there's people in the world who have to live in a tent. You don't have to live in a tent. You have a home. Like, stay in your home. Like, why do you go in the woods to live in a nylon structure for a week and eat just food out of a can? Like, you don't have to do that. We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but It's fun. It's camping, and he's like he couldn't wrap his head around it.
So
didn't understand it.
What's your home look like? Is it surrounded just by giant 4x4s?
No, I was very smart in when we started the business, we bought commercial property and put up
nice.
put up 10,000 square foot of studio space.
Gotcha.
Mainly because when I started this adventure, I met with a friend who was a business guy.
Yeah.
And he said, how are you going to retire? And I told him the funny joke about, and he's like, no, seriously, like one day you have to retire. Like one day you can't work on cars anymore. Like what's going to be? And I'm like, huh? And he said, then invest in, like, if you're going to start a business, invest in commercial property, buy some land, build a building, invest in the property, run your business out of that. And then at the very least, when you have to retire, you have an asset to cash out on.
Right.
Yeah. So no, my wife would not put up with a whole bunch of. Now all the neighbors know who we are because I drive a different car home every night. Because I'll drive a different. One day I'll drive my 2-door Gladiator. Sometimes I'll drive the tow rig. Sometimes I'll drive my smart car on 33s. Sometimes I drive the Toyota, the Tacoma with a V8 in it. Yeah, so all the neighbors know who we are.
That's pretty funny. Is your shop near the house?
It's like 20 minutes down the road. Yeah, it's not far. Yeah.
Your family involved?
So, no, well, my son, he appreciates what we do. Like, he likes cars.
Right.
But he went to university and got one of those good, like a good degree. He's a global supply chain specialist for Cummins engines.
No kidding. Where do you see kind of your career going now?
I'll just keep going until it's not fun anymore. The good thing about my career is that, like, I'm in a spot now where I can just keep doing it, or I could stop doing it.
Yeah.
Like I could just stop tomorrow and just retire. I don't know what that would look like. But I'd still build trucks and probably still make videos, so it wouldn't be much of a retirement. But I'll always keep doing what I do until it's not fun.
Right.
And making content and videos, especially making TV, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the best way to describe it is, no matter what industry you're in, if you were a welder, fabricator, car builder, if you could do what you're doing right now that you enjoy,
right,
and not have a customer, that's what we have to do. Because I can just, if you're building, if I was doing my TV show and it was about metal sculpting, I could just build whatever sculpture I wanted.
Right.
I wouldn't have a customer to deal with or a client, because I'm the client, because I'm making the content, which is actually what pays the bills, right? So it's the same for me. I can just build whatever I want, whenever I want. So whatever vehicle I want to build next, I just build it. So it's a pretty good deal.
That's a great deal.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your whole discussion about branding, and I mean, we talk to a lot of shops, and they're always trying to make themselves look different in the market. What's the first step to trying to figure out how to get that message across? Like, how do you build that up?
The first thing they got to decide is, if it's a small fab shop, right? Small little mom and pop fab shop, or maybe just under 20 employees, is I would look at it like silo it out. So I'd say, okay, the problem I think is everyone just lumps all of social media into one big pile, right? Because they just think, oh, it's social media, it's all the same, which it's not.
Right.
But I would say, go into Facebook and use Facebook as your targeted local resource to find customers. So no matter how large that is, if it's a county, then it's a county. If it's a state, it's a state. If it's a province, it's a province. But utilize the tools inside Facebook to create a marketing strategy inside of there, or a brand strategy where you're going to target all those customers that you're looking for, and use Facebook as that. Then use Instagram, YouTube as the place where you're going to, like, tell your story. This is, if you're a mom and pop and you've been doing this for X number of years, whatever, maybe that's what you use your Instagram for. Use the Instagram to tell the backstory of the company, or if you're building something super cool, talk about that on Instagram, talk about that on YouTube, but use the platforms to the benefit of what they were designed for, right? Like, if you're a manufacturer, like I said before, use YouTube to answer those questions that your customers keep asking. Right? Like, even if you're a small fab shop, like, if you do one thing that no one else in your area does, use YouTube as the way to, like, hey, we're the only people here, we're the only welding shop that welds cast in the Greater Toronto area. We're the only welding shop that does any type of magnesium repair. Well, okay, great. Now go to YouTube and let's map out some let's map out some video strategies about that.
Right.
Like, let's make some videos about how do you fix magnesium? Like, what are the steps to it? Like, build out a series of videos so when people are on Google searching how to weld magnesium or how to repair a broken magnesium, your video comes up. And then it's like, oh shit, that shop's right down the road here in Etobicoke. I can go get my whatever it is fixed.
Right.
Or they see it on YouTube and then search your business and then find it on Facebook. So I would just say that to me is where I see a lot of companies, and especially smaller companies, make that mistake.
Right.
They just look at it as like, well, we do social media.
Are there ever sometimes when you get a comment from somebody, you're like, oh, that's actually kind of like that's something different. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah,
maybe
sometimes. We'll get, especially for project ideas, like people will ask for like, hey, probably one of the best ones. Now this is a really old one. It actually comes out of a forum. One of the early shows we did, people were complaining, like people always do, that the show was, oh, you got to lift and all those fancy. I could do that too if I had that fancy shop and all those tools. Why don't you do it like we do it out here in the driveway, blah, blah. And so it was in a forum, and I said, all right.
Cool.
And then somebody had posted, they said, hey, I'm actually 20 minutes from the studio. I've got a slip yoke eliminator to install on my Jeep. You can use it as an example if you want, almost joking. And I said, yeah, we'll be there next week.
Awesome.
And he was like, what? And I said, yeah, I'll just load up the... So we loaded up the film crew, we put a bunch of tools in a trailer, and we went to his house, shot it there, dropped the transfer case out, rebuilt it on a folding table in his driveway, and put it back in. So yeah, there's always stuff that would come up in all.
That's fun.
It's always good to interact that way for sure.
Do you think you would have found this digital creation career if you had not made the cut for like Monster Garage?
No, I'd still be teaching.
No kidding.
Yeah, because
Wow.
you wouldn't leave teaching. I mean, that's the.
Well,
I
you
may
have
have
summers off, and you seem like you're always doing
well,
something.
probably what would have happened is I would have been teaching, but then like making YouTube videos or something like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have like an actual content creation firm. The other thing is, I hate to say it, it's mean. I hate to be the guy to say this.
Yeah.
But when you live in Canada, you don't think about stuff like this.
Right, okay.
When you live in the States, you're kind of always thinking it. There is much more of a, it's an old saying, but after living both places, it is very true. America is an I can country, and Canada is a can I country.
Oh, wow.
And so that's just what my experience has been. Like in the States, there's much more of that. Well, I'm going to start a business.
Right.
Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
That's the worst thing that can happen. Where in Canada, it's like, oh, maybe when I retire, I'll buy an RV and go to Arizona.
Wow, that's interesting.
It's there's a very different, and I don't know what it is, but it's very much like when I left to go start teaching, or rather to go. It actually goes back further than that. So the funny story is, I feel bad for telling this. My dad hates when I tell the story, but it's true. So when I was in high school and I wanted to be a mechanic, drove my dad crazy, right? To the point where I went down to the guidance counselor office to like, how do I become a mechanic? And the guidance counselor, my dad was the principal of the high school. And she was like, well, here's this engineering course at this university. And I'm like, I didn't say engineering, I said mechanic. And she's like, yeah, I can't tell you. There's no way your dad will ever forgive me if I tell you how to become a mechanic. So I went to a different high school. I literally got in my Jeep that day, or my car, drove one town over to the school where my mom worked at, walked into the guidance counselor's office. They didn't know who I was.
Right. Excellent.
And I walked in there and I said, hey, can I be a mechanic? And the guidance counselor, luckily, he was a former mechanic turned shop teacher turned guidance counselor.
Oh, wow.
He said, you can be whatever you want. And I was like, I want to be a mechanic. And he's like, let's get you enrolled in school. So I changed high schools, became a mechanic. So I became a mechanic. My dad was just like, you're wasting your life. Should have went to university. Years later, he did admit fully that it was the right decision for me, right? Like, I could see you're doing well, you're happy, it's all good. So then I go to become a teacher, and I'm like, oh, my dad's going to be so proud. I got into Queen's University. I'm going to go home, show my dad I got into Queen's. He'd be so proud I'm going to be a teacher. I walked in the house. I was like, look, Dad, I'm going to be a teacher. He's like, why would you want to quit your job? You got a good job. throwing it away, most thankless professional, because they were retiring and they were
Right.
at that point where teaching sucked, right?
Right.
Right.
A lot of years.
Yeah. And then when I got the job on TV, everyone of our family was like, I can't believe you're risking everything and just going to the States. Your wife has to quit her job and you're quitting your job. This is crazy. Just not
Amazing.
something you do, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's just different. But yeah, it's a different world.
But you got to feel like you're. I mean, did you think you saw what was happening in terms of content development for digital channels?
I did.
And right before anybody, or like maybe right when it was
No,
happening?
right at the before anybody in our industries. That
Yeah.
it's very true. Like it's not a mean thing to say, but the reality is automotive, welding, fabrication. I say it as very seriously. It's 5 years behind. If
Right,
you
okay.
really want to know what's going to be the big thing in this industry in 5 years, just look at what's happening in mainstream media right now, and it's
Right.
going to happen, right? So it was very much it was very obvious to me. So like when I left, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go start this content agency. I spent about 6 months going to a bunch of different social media conferences and all this kind of stuff. And whenever you would go there, you'd meet people outside of your industry, which
yeah.
is important.
Yeah.
You know, I think what happens is a lot of the time, especially when you're in a world, you get stuck in that vacuum of that world, and that's all you think about, right?
Yeah.
So when I went to those conferences and stuff, I met people who were doing social media for Johnson & Johnson or
Right.
social media for Tide or like a bunch of big companies, and they
Yeah.
were giving talks at these things. And you'd look at what they were doing. They were doing content creation before it was even a thing.
Right.
Wow.
Like there was Johnson & Johnson had an entire website that was all built around, it was when blogs were big.
Yeah.
They had an entire website about servicing your, like, it was, if you searched first baby, what do I need to know on Google, that page came up. Now, it was nowhere on the website did you know it was owned by Johnson & Johnson.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
But every piece of content on that website, every blog, every post, everything centered around a Johnson & Johnson product. But it wasn't called Johnson & Johnson's First Baby. It was like myfirstbaby.com
Yeah.
or
Right.
something. And so
Wow.
they were really big in that generating their own content before it was even like a thing that we did, right?
Yeah.
And so that was them knowing, like, we just need to know how to maximize the internet to get to our customer at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it easier to reach metal fabricating, manufacturing customers via social media? Because one of the things, like we do still have, and I know one thing we didn't cover is you used to actually own a magazine as well.
I did, yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
still in the magazine business.
Yeah.
And, our whole thing is like not everyone's in front of a computer, right?
Yeah.
So maybe not everyone's in front of a computer. I think we can all agree about that. But is social media the best way? Is it a good way to reach manufacturers?
I think it is, because it's the barrier to entry is nothing,
Right.
right? But whenever there's a vacuum of something, there's always a need to fill it, right?
Right.
So like, if you look at the popularity, Netflix did that show for a season, the Metal Shop Masters show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Well, that's gone, but then there's a vacuum for that. So if you watch that, if you sort of see that whole like welding artist
Yeah.
thing, that kind of blew up on social right after that show because more people were exposed to it.
Right.
And then when it went away, there was a vacuum, so people started looking for it.
Right.
So I think there is, because there's really nothing else,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
There's couple magazines, a couple shows that showcase it a little bit here and there,
Right.
but then that's it. So, and then also just the barrier to entry, like the ability to get into it like that, and you're in, you know?
Yeah.
There is a
you're
lot
all-
of noise in it, though. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. You have to navigate the number of people that are in it, because there's a
Right.
lot.
Right.
Yeah.
If you had $1 million, you're approached by a television production company. They say like, hey, we want to try this in a wide reach format, whether it be cable TV or whatever. What would you pitch to them?
So if somebody said to me,
With your expertise in mind.
if someone came to me and they said, I got a budget of X, whether it's 100,000 or $1 million, and they want to reach the most people,
Yeah.
it's a shotgun approach. It's
Yeah.
everything.
Right.
I would say you got to go into linear television or traditional television. That's going to be an anchor point.
Yeah.
We're gonna and then we create content outside of that. So we would go in and say, okay, We're going to do some type of traditional television. What that's going to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's enough money, if it's a huge budget, I would go at them and say, hey, let's, like the Forged and Fire television show, the knife making show.
Yeah.
If any of their industry crossed over with something like that, like a competition style show, I would say, hey, let's make that show. But then we would negotiate with a linear network that would allow us to run it on YouTube. So I would give it to a network for like 6 months and then have it available on YouTube as well. I would then push into social hard on it as well. But it would be a tiered approach. So we'd start on linear, come into YouTube after, and then use social for promo inside of that, and then use Facebook for branding and selling of the actual product.
It's so funny how much facets are involved.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you see that now with stuff premiering on streaming and then getting fed to your linear television.
Yeah, or the opposite.
Yeah.
You'll see them, and then also you'll see them. The behind the scene negotiations for those, for me, are fun to watch because once you're in TV, like I said this morning, like I watch TV show, I know right away who's paid, who hasn't, like where'd the Ford logo go.
Yeah,
man, those Yellowstone guys love Rams. They don't. It's hilarious, but it's obvious, right? But and then on top of that, you'll see like production companies that will have. They'll have a network deal over here and then a streaming deal over here. So it's streaming on a completely different platform.
Man, so just to sum up, I think in a way, even though you didn't originally go to university, you're up on a lot of different things, right? And I think you come up to speed pretty fast. So in a way, you're kind of learning on your feet.
The beauty of life is, I say to my students when I taught high school, and this is something you learn as a tradesperson. I honestly believe this, is you learn as a tradesperson that you never stop learning.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's instilled into you from the first time you show up in trade school, because the water pump's here this year, but it's not going to be there next year. It's going to be over here.
Right.
Yeah, this filler metal is used for this year, but next year we're going to have a new filament. So you're told at a very young age when you go into the trades that your job is to learn about your trade. My trade just happened to go from working on cars to teaching kids to making TV shows. So I just had that. I had that burned into my mind at a very young age that once you get the job, you're not done learning. It's your job now to learn more about that job to make it easier for you in the long run and make it better.
Yeah.
So I lucked out in that way.
Yeah.
What's your most favorite project you've worked on recently?
Probably, it's an awful thing to say because I always have the same answer because people ask this me a lot, what's my favorite project? And it's like, I always tell people it's the next one.
Yeah.
Because to me, I do enjoy going four-wheeler and I do enjoy going on these off-road adventures, but I'm a shop rat at heart. Like, to me, my favorite place to be is in the shop working, just building something, right?
Yeah.
So to me, when the project's done, it's like, man, it's done. I literally just put it in the building next door. It's a sickness because then, like, I have 25 cars. So when it's like, oh, which one are we taking out this week? It's just like, you got to go through all the cars and then you got to move 9 of them to get to one of them kind of thing. So it is a sickness. But to me, like, my favorite project is the next one that I got in my head because I'll be working on one and I'll be like, oh, man, next time we're putting the engine in the back. Or next time we're doing an independent front suspension on this Jeep, not a solid axle. Or the next time, and so I'm always kind of like thinking about what's the next project, and that's like physical car projects. TV projects, the most exciting ones that I get excited about now are anything where we leave the shop and go on an adventure because logistically it's much more fun to plan that out. Like at this point in time, we've been doing in-shop television production for 24 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And we did some out-of-shop adventure stuff over the years, but now we're at the point now where we actually have sponsors and budgets that want to do more of that.
Oh, wow.
And so the project, they get bigger.
Yeah.
So like this year, we're going to spend a week on the road before the SEMA show, off-roading every day.
Oh, sweet.
On our way to the SEMA show. Then we end at the SEMA show. So those projects on the TV side are more fun because you got a lot of moving parts.
Wow.
Right.
Kind of stuff.
That
so,
is
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah. So where can they find out more about you?
Always.
If they haven't found out everything already.
It's always social media, so it's going to be Instagram, Ian from Big Tag Garage, Facebook, but not really. Facebook's there, but it's mainly just
Yeah.
a link to Instagram for me.
Right.
And then YouTube, Big Tire Garage, or digitallug.com for the production stuff.
Cool.
There you go.
Well, thanks a lot. Really enjoyed the conversation.
great
Yeah, it's been a
talking.
great,
Thank
great
you, Rob.
afternoon. Thank you.
If you have anything to say, send it our way at podcast@fmamfg.org. Thank you and goodbye.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of the Fabricators and Manufacturers Association. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and Lincoln Bruner. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager, recorded by Griffin Hammond, and edited by Dana Weicker. Additional support provided by Andy Flando, Elizabeth Gavin, Sarah Spring, Amy Hudson, Mike Owens, Billy Culpa, and Pat Simon. If you like this podcast, check out the FMA Podcast Network. Thank you for listening.
That was cool.